All right, welcome guys. Welcome back. Let me set this up real quick and we'll get started shortly with our mentoring session for today. A few things here. All right, let's go. Let me get this link sent out to you guys. Mentoring group. All right, so we'll get a few moments for people to make their way in. If you guys have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. As I mentioned earlier, guys, we didn't really have too many entries for today. We had just two. Let me see if there's anything else that came up after we got off the live, but it's not looking like it. Yeah, not really. Actually, there was a breakout V3. Not really. I mean, there was a breakout V3 continuation right here, but the trend wasn't confirmed yet. So I don't think anybody would have taken this entry, but this is probably the closest thing to an entry that we could see from here. Yeah, there's not really much. The thing is, all my forex trades hit. So I think I made like about 1,000 yesterday or this morning, actually. Let those trades run. They took about a couple of days, but they did hit. So I guess 1,000 over a 3-day period is not too bad for not doing anything. All right, let's see. Maria said my psychology is bad. Every time I take a trade, it goes to stop loss, and when I don't take a trade, it goes to TP. Um, that's the thing where you have to take every trade. That's like pretty much what I was saying earlier. You have to take every single trade that comes up because if you don't, then you're going to end up in that predicament, right? Where you're going to end up taking all the losses and you're not going to take any of the wins, and then you're just going to end up blowing the account, which is unfortunate, but that's what happens with a lot of people. Sorry, not Patricia. Maria said, I'm confused at the PRV entry from today. Sure, we'll go over that. Shortly. It's going to give it a few more moments for people to join in. But again, guys, if there's any other questions that you guys have, feel free to put them in the chat. There's only two entries that we're really going to look at today, which is going to be the PRV and the breakout V3. There's no other entries that came up today. Today was a good example as to why I prefer to take the breakouts versus the regular scalps. The regular scalps are great entries. It's just you have to have the patience to wait for them to come up. And when they do come up, you can only take them if they meet criteria. There's going to be a lot of hiccups there where like it'll look like an entry or there'll be a red flag, but you have to make a decision to take them or not. And I think that's kind of the wow factor with these scalps. So the scalps are fine. I mean, the scalps still work perfectly fine. You just have to understand which scalps you want to take, and you have to understand which ones you don't want to take because it's really discretionary when you're looking at these scalps. So anyways, First question is from Maria is going to be for the PRB entry. Let me go over here real quick and I'll rewind to 6:30 a.m. So this is where the market opened right here, right? The trend over here was bullish, as you guys can see. The level 4 pivot was below all of the others. And now let's move forward and we'll see where the entry was. So let's see. Maria said for her, the entry could be the 43 candle. So I mean, we'll take a look at that. I mean, it couldn't be the 43 because the entry already came up at the 33, Maria. So here's the thing, Maria. It's just kind of the same conversation we had yesterday. You're kind of making your own strategy, right? Which is fine. If you want to create your own PRV strategy, that's completely fine. But I'm going to show you exactly what we talked about yesterday because you can't create your own strategy. I mean, you can, but the PRB is a PRB, right? If you want to create your own your own variation to it, that's completely fine. You can do that, but that's something that I can't really help with because that's not the strategy, right? So let's go back over here to 6:30. Let me go back and we'll just go from start to finish. And at this point, I'm just going to give you guys the requirements. It's the same requirements I gave you guys yesterday, but I'm going to give you guys the requirements that I follow, because these are literally what I follow. Okay. So the market right here opened at 6:30. I'm looking for a wick rejection off the pivot. If you guys want to take a note of that, I'm looking for a wick rejection off the pivot. I always say I'm looking for price to come back down and push back up, and that's literally what I'm looking for. Price came down right here. The rejection happened off the pivot right here. If you guys want to just put that into a requirement, feel free to do that. But what I'm trying to get across to you guys is that there's not always going to be a clear example like this, right? So I don't want you guys to just stick to this requirement and stick to this requirement, and then in the future you're gonna say, hey Sean, this would have been the entry at a different time, right? But almost every time this comes up, it's a push down and a rejection off the pivot. You can see our price came down and it pushed right up. So here goes your requirements, the same exact thing that I explained to you guys yesterday, right? This right here is the rejection off the pivot, right? Price goes up. And this right here would be the space. The space would be right here, the sideways movement. And then, so rejection, space, and you can tell it's space because price goes sideways for a while. It doesn't go up, it doesn't go down. Price pushes up, comes back down, rejects off the pivot. It goes sideways here, that's space, right? Same thing I mentioned to you earlier. And then right here is the rejection off the pivot again. So this is exactly what I said yesterday. Rejection, space, retracement, rejection, entry. And that's where the entry came up right here, right? So that's why we took the entry right here at 6:34. And that's why this came through right there. So Maria said her entry would have been at 6:43. Right there, right? So, okay, this is where it's like, okay, Maria, so I'm trying to understand why your entry would have happened over here. Because if anything, your entry would have happened right here, because you still would have, yeah, there was a ton of rejections right here, Maria. So your entry would have actually happened on this red candle right here, and you would have won the trade. Because there's a rejection right here, and then if you wanted this to be space, this could be space, and there'd be another rejection right here, and then your entry would happen there, and it would have won, right? If you're following the requirements that I mentioned. Your entry at 7:43 is or 6:43 is so far out, it's so late that what happened over here with all these other rejections? Because the thing is, we got in exactly where we were supposed to, right? Because rejection, space, rejection. That's why we got in over here. If you waited a little bit, your other entry would have happened right here. But your entry that you're trying to explain, it's so far out that what happened over here with these rejections, Maria? Because I know it's easy to see it's easy to say something that there's an entry after it's happened, right? But you have to actually analyze it when it's happening. We can't say, oh yeah, we could have entered right here. Of course I would have entered right there, right? If I could be a fortune teller and I could say, oh, I know what's going to happen like 5 minutes later, then yeah, I wouldn't take the first entry. But the thing is, if you don't take the first entry, you could miss the entry completely, right? So for me, that's why I entered up here because this is where the entry came up. All of the requirements lined up with my entry right here. Rejection, and the same thing that you just drew earlier, Maria, is the same thing, right? Price pushed up, retraced, sideways, came up, and that's where the entry would have been because it's an M pattern. I think like so the problem with this here is that like you're analyzing it at a later time. So it seems like, okay, you understand how it works, but you're analyzing it so late that like this isn't realistic. You can't do this in real time because the first rejection was over here on the opening candle. Opening candle, sideways right here. This is the space, right? It's the little doji thing. Price came back up, rejected off here, and that's why the entry happened right there. But so there's a thing, Maria. So Maria said for those candles, it was just noise. That's the thing. It's not noise. For you, it's noise, but for us, this is the entry because it's literally what you're looking for. You're looking for the rejection, sideways movement, and continuation. Like this is a prime example of like what the entry would look like because there's a rejection. See how this candle here goes up initially? Like you're calling it noise, but it's not noise because that's the entry. Uh, like see how price came down right here? The trend was bullish. So obviously this is the push that we're looking for, right? Price came down, it came up, came back down, pushed up. That's the first rejection right there. The next candle right here is the space because price goes up and it goes sideways, right? This is a sideways movement right here. And then the next candle right here pushes up and that's where the entry would be. There's no noise here. This is like it's the exact requirements that I told you yesterday. Like there's just no noise here. I think this strategy might be a little too complicated for you, Maria. I mean, personally, I'm not trying to like put you down, but like I think this strategy just might be just a little too complicated for you. So I think you should just stop applying this one in general because I don't feel like you're gonna get this. You could practice it, but I don't think you should take it on your actual account. Um, or if you do take it, just take the one that I'm taking, right? Because I'm actually analyzing with set requirements: rejection, consolidation, rejection, and continuation. There's no set number of candles that you're looking for. You're like literally looking for price action. Like the whole strategy is based on price action. There's no thinking, okay, I need like 5 candles to pass, and then okay, then I'm gonna start looking for entry. Like it happens immediately at 6:30 because it's a breakout entry. If you don't catch the breakout within the first 5 minutes, you're probably gonna miss the entry, right? Your entry was like at 6:43. That's 13 minutes later. At that point, the breakout's done already, and there's no opportunity for entry at that point. So I don't know. For me personally, I think this strategy might just be too complicated for you, Maria. Um, this is why I don't teach it to people or I don't teach it to anybody because it is complicated. But I think for you, it's doing more harm than good. Like maybe this is a strategy that you should just not take. Maybe stick to the breakout V3s or just stick to this when I'm taking it on live. But I think you shouldn't even be analyzing it at all because from your analysis today, this is super off. And the one from yesterday was super off too. And I just don't want you to go in a downward spiral where you keep doing things wrong, right? Yeah, because Maria said maybe I'm thinking it needed more candles to make movement. No, because the movement like literally happened right there on open. So I don't know. I don't know what kind of advice to give you, Maria, because I don't want you to keep doing things. Because Maria said yes, maybe I don't understand it completely. Yeah, I don't think you do, because I mean this was a pretty clear, like I gave you guys the requirements yesterday, and it was pretty clear, right? I mean, if it's confusing to anybody else, like let me know because I want to make it easy for you guys. But I just feel like this was like one of the easiest examples to follow. I said this yesterday. You're looking for a rejection off the pivot. The trend is bullish. You're looking for the rejection off the pivot down below, which happened right here. That's the first step. The next step is consolidation or space. We had space right here off these next 2 candles. Like the candles look big, but if you look at it closer, it's just going sideways right here. Right? It's very simple. You're looking for the rejection off the bottom. You're looking for a sideways movement, and then you're looking for a confirmation, which is a rejection off the bottom. So step 1, rejection. Step 2, consolidation. Step 3, rejection and continuation. that'd be the entry. So that's why the entry was right here. And then if you wanted to, like, say, for example, you just missed this, and this was the case. Like, if you told me the entry was over here on the next candle, Maria, this would make more sense to me. I'd be like, okay, this is where your mistake happened because you didn't count the opening candle, right? Because this is the same thing. Rejection right there, sideways movement, like push back down right here, but continuation. So let me just go again. Rejection, consolidation, rejection. Your entry would have happened right here. If you told me this was your entry, Maria, then okay, I'd have been like, okay, that made sense because you probably didn't count the first candle. But the problem is your entry was like so far out over here, Maria, and there's so many rejections right here. Like what happens to all of these, right? There's like 1, 2, 3 rejections right here. There's rejection, space, rejection. You could have had another entry right here if you wanted to. There's like 3 different opportunities you could have counted before, but yours happened to happen like way down here. And at that point, it's too late because it's a breakout strategy. So your entry would have happened at 643, which would be right here. But this is even worse because, or no, actually, it's not worse. It's about the same. It's just that yours happened like super late. So I think you should continue practicing it, Maria, but don't take them on your account anymore unless like you're taking the one that I'm taking. So I don't recommend taking your own PRV entry. Just follow what we're doing on live and take that PRV entry because I think you're doing more harm than help by analyzing yourself because you're just not really understanding it. Let's see. Oh crap, I just took off all my indicators. Yeah. All right, I gotta put this thing back on. My bad. Let me fix this. High, low, sessions, pivots, trend meter. Like stop. Momentum. Damn, I hate when I do that. Dirty. All right, 1 second, guys. Sorry, I just gotta fix all this. I screwed up when I took all the stuff off. Bottom center. All right. So let me go back to the chat. So let's see. Nick said, it seems from my perspective that you're attempting to make it more complicated than it needs to be, Maria. The strategy is rejection off pivots, no more, no less. Yeah, and I agree with you too, Nick. Maria said, I always consider the first 2 candles as noise, but it's okay. It's your strategy, and I'll skip them for the moment. I mean, yeah, I think that's another thing too. You're considering it noise, but there is no noise. Like it's a price action strategy. So yeah, you're just not getting it, Maria, which is okay. I mean, it's fine. I know it's not an easy strategy, but if you want to keep practicing it, feel free. But I would recommend just sticking to like what we're doing on the live because I feel like you're doing more harm than good by trying to make adjustments to the strategy that just don't make sense, right? Like we never use noise. It's never been one of the reasoning behind it. You have to count all the entries from like 6:30 to because the entry only comes between 6:30 and 7. So you have to take it between that period, right? You don't have a long time to think. Like market opens over here at 6:30 and you should be in that position by 7. If you're not in the position by 7, then if you wait too long, this is what I mean. Because like for example, the entries would have happened right here, but if you wait too long, you'd miss the train, right? The train would be gone by now. Because your entry you mentioned was at 6:30, 6:43. If you missed all this stuff here, then the entry would have had, you would have just never had an entry because the rejections never came up after that. So, I mean, it's okay, Maria. If you want to keep practicing, and then you can keep asking questions. But I just want to look out for your count because I don't want you to blow any more accounts, right? So I want you to just stick to that there. Another thing that I wanted to mention was like, how are you not, because you mentioned that you're losing trades, but you're not winning the trades with us. So you're just accumulating losses. Like, how can I help with that? Because if you're just taking these 2 entries, like for example, if you took the breakout B3 with us, then you would have just recouped it back to break even. I'm assuming you just missed it, but that's the whole point of taking these two entries here to have that safety net. If one loses, the other wins, you end up at break even. If both win, then you're in profit, of course. The only way to have a loss is if they both lose. So let's see, question from Natasha. She's asking, Sean, for some reason my ATR is not showing on my trading view anymore. Can you tell me how to reset that? Yeah. So if you want to just make sure you have the trailing stop indicator on, Natasha. So go to your indicators, go to invite only scripts. It's going to be called the K2 trailing stop indicator. Once you add that on, just go to your settings. And then typically these lines are going to be on there. You can just take them off. They're not necessary unless you're using them as your trailing stop. And then secondly, go to the ATR location right here and just make sure it's at bottom center. I mean, or wherever you want to have it. You want it top center, top right, top left, top bottom right. You can just have it right here at bottom center. Gotcha. Okay, no problem. No problem, Natasha. And Maria said she didn't take it because of the prior loss. Psychology matter. Yeah. So I think that's the thing. You just have to understand that like the losses will happen and you just have to take the next trade because if you don't, then you're not going to be able to balance out. The whole point of this is to either break even or, and I'm not sure if are you taking too big of a contract size, Maria? Because you should be taking half if you're going to be taking both. So just keep that in mind. You can either take both entries and half your contract size, or you can just take one and use the full contract size. Either way, from the data that we pulled, you should end up in profit, or you should end up, you should end up in profit long term as long as you're like following your trading plan to a T. You have to decide whether you want to take both, take one, and if you're taking both, make sure that you have your lot size. And if you're taking one, then you can take a full contract size, and that'll help as well. Gotcha. Okay. Reduce it to 3. That's good. That's good, Maria. You're doing it proper. You should always decrease the contract size rather than increase, especially if you're going into some drawdown. Nick said, by the way, Sean, I wanted to mention to you, may want to permanently mark that AT all-time high and mark it with a black. Let me see what you mean by that. Where did you get that? Or what do you mean by that, Nick? Sorry, I'm confused. Permanently mark the all-time high and mark it with a create another indicator, or is there a setting here for that? I mean, yeah, you can change the color if you guys want. Whoops. Just mark it and remark it when it hits again. Sorry, Nick, I'm like completely lost. I don't even know what you're talking about right now. So Nick said he just marks it and remarks it when it hits again. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, wait, if you want to be a little more detailed, I don't even know what you're talking about right now. Yeah, if you send a screenshot, that'd probably help. Because I just don't even know what you're talking about. I thought you were talking about changing the color of the ATR down here. Which, yeah, you guys can change it. If you guys want, again, if you want to change the color of the ATR, you can. There's like a bunch of different colors here that you can change it to. I personally like blue because it stands out. But yeah, if you want it black or if you want it opaque, because you can make it opaque too, so there's like a box around it. I personally don't need it because I'm used to just seeing the blue down there already. So I just look down, I'm like, okay, it's blue. Yeah, I'll see what Nick. Has for us here. Let's see. Oh, you're talking about the all-time high. Oh, okay, never mind. My bad. I read your whole thing wrong, Nick. The I thought you said ATR because we were talking about ATR. So I thought you were talking about the ATR this whole time. I just read it wrong because you said all-time high, not you said ATH, not ATR. Okay, no, my bad. That was my bad. I read it wrong. That's why I was confused. I was like, what are you talking about? But no, yeah, okay. So I'll make adjustments later when it comes time, like tomorrow morning. But yeah, no, that's good to know, just so that we yeah, because today I wasn't even paying attention to it. I didn't realize that the top liquidity was the all-time high. So I think tomorrow I'll definitely keep that in mind. So like tomorrow, first thing I'll do when I set up my charts, especially the clean chart, I'll just mark up the all-time high so that we have an idea. Obviously where it's at. And I'll just put like a word up there or something or some sort of text. But all right, so other than that, let's take a look at the breakout version 3. So the breakout version 3 happened right over here. So let me just go to the entry, which is right here. So here's the criteria. First, you want to look for the V1 pattern to identify the reversal. So you can see how price pushed up, came back down. This V1 pattern right here provided a reversal pattern and it shot right back up. So first step is to identify the V1 pattern, which is right here, double body rejection off this low. Then we looked for the momentum signal followed by the green candle right after it. With all that set up right there, that would be the entry for the breakout version 3. Obviously, the TP stop loss we're using here is 25.25. As Sam mentioned on the live session today, the original TP stop loss was 30.30. But in order for us to line it up with the PRB, we have to use a 25.25 in order for it to provide, the same results, same win, same loss, same break even if necessary. So this was the entry right here for the breakout version 3. And it went straight through to full TP. So this helped us break even for the day. As you guys saw my profits, I was down for the day slightly, just to cover basically commissions and just like half less than a point. And that was pretty much it. So I'm down for the day, up for the week, and that's the breakout version 3. So guys, if the PRB is too complicated for you, which I don't blame you guys, it is kind of complicated. Unless you're really looking for something specific, then the breakout version 3 might be the one that you want to focus on. The problem with this here is that the breakout version 3 isn't always going to win. So you guys have to understand that there's going to be a give and take when it comes between the breakout version 3 and the PRB. That's why I like using both, because either if one wins, typically the other one will lose, or if one loses, the other one will typically win. And it just creates a safety net for us. So like, for example, here, we took the first loss of the PRB and we're like, fuck, lost the trade. And then this one over here for the breakout version 3, it just recouped it. So we basically just came back to break even for the day. So every day I'm looking to make 1,250. So basically, this is my goal for the day. My goal every day, take both PRB and breakout version 3. Both win, I'm up per account. One win, one loss, I'm break even. Both loss, I'm down 1,250 per account. So this is like literally all that this is my goal every day, guys. I take both PRB and breakout version 3. If I'm up, then I'm up 1,250 per account. If one wins, one loses, I'm break even. Both loss, I'm down. So the only way for me to have a loss for the day is if they both lose. If they both win, then great, I'm up. If one wins, one loses, I'm at break even. So this gives me, my criteria here is it gives me basically 2 opportunities to be in profit or break even, and it gives me 1 opportunity for a loss, which is probably not going to happen because they usually don't both lose. So that's my goal every day. Super simple. I just take both the breakouts. And then, like I mentioned here, so in order for someone to pass, you would have to use, and Ross is asking what lot size am I using? I'm using a 5 contract size for each trade, Ross. And that's what I was going to allude to. That's how the profit is 1,250 because I'm taking a 5 contract times $5 per tick times 25 points. That's 625 per account, right? Times 2, that's 1,250. So I'm using a 5 contract per trade. And this gives me the opportunity to basically make it impossible for me to blow my apex, like literally impossible. I might not make a ton of profit, but I'm also not going to blow the account. And that's the whole point of being consistently profitable, right? Because in order for you to pass, you need to make 9,000, right? So 9,000 divided by 1250. I need 7.2 wins. So basically 7.2 winning days. I just need 7.2 winning days for the entire month. You have 25 opportunities, right? There's 4 weeks, 5 days out of the week. You have 25 opportunities. Out of those 25 opportunities, you need 7 wins to pass within a month, right? In order for you to blow your account, 5,000 divided by 625, you need to have 8 back-to-back losses. So you need to have 8 back-to-back PRBs and BB3s losses in a row, which is this going to happen? Probably not, right? You need 4 losing days, which is probably not going to happen. But if you just keep having winning days, break even, winning days, maybe a loss, winning days, break even, you're going to keep climbing up that ladder, right? And this is the whole thing that I'm showing you guys, right? So say, for example, on Monday was a winning day. That's a winning day, right? What happened Tuesday? It was a losing day. What happened Wednesday? It was a winning day. What happened today? Break even. Tomorrow, if we win, we're even more profit, right? So that's what it looks like. We're basically climbing the ladder. We're climbing higher and higher and higher until you eventually pass. This is it just, yeah, exactly. Natasha said slow and steady wins the race. You can always increase your contract size. At this point, so say for example, say we keep doing that and we keep growing a little bit, and then say I'm funded at this point, right? Once I'm funded at this point, like say for example, this is where the funded starts, right? You start funded right here, and your drawdown's right here. Then your drawdown's right here, and then see how this thing keeps climbing up and your trailing drawdown doesn't follow once you're funded. Once your trailing drawdown doesn't follow, now you can increase your contract size. So instead of taking, and you can take a max of 17 contracts, right? So I'm starting at the very low. Like I'm like taking chump change right now, right? I'm like down here with, I'm right here with 5 contracts, right? I'm at 5 contracts right here, making 625 per breakout, right? Imagine once I go up to like 17 contracts, or let's make it, let's take it slowly. Let's not go up to 17 contracts yet, but let's go to 10 contracts, right? Now I'm making, you guys see the difference there? So this is the whole thing that I'm trying to show you guys. This is a long-term thing here. If you're going to start off at 5 contracts, once you have that cushion and you don't have a trailing drawdown anymore, you can increase your contract size. So imagine once you're taking 17 contracts, like that's big money right there, right? Because you're capped at 17 contracts. We're not even close to that yet. So I'm not even touching ground yet. I'm barely at the very bottom. Once you start taking 17 contracts times 5 times 25, then you're making 2,125. So 2,125, that's just per account, per breakout, right? And I have 20 accounts here. So this times 20, that's massive profit every single day. If you have 2 back-to-back wins, that's going to be, well, this is only 1 breakout. So like 1 breakout, you'll make like 42,000 off that there. That's crazy. Times 2 accounts, I mean, times 2 trades for the day, I can make upwards of like 85,000 in like 1 day if they both win. That's how massive it is when it comes down to it. So right now I'm making some chump change. Now I'm making 625 per trade, times 20. So that's about like 12,500 times 2. If you have both wins, the PRB and the BB3, that's still 25,000 per day and I'm starting here at the very bottom. So you guys can see I'm trying to build my way up to here. Hopefully by the end of the year, like by December, I'll be up here, or I'll be at least at the 10 contract level or somewhere near that. And then I'll be making some massive profits every single day, just taking these breakouts. And this is again is the reason why I'm closing down the live sessions, right? I don't want to share my strategy with the public anymore because like why would I? I don't need to sell anything at any like I don't need to sell anything to anybody. I just make profits from trading. That's what I've been doing for the past 2 years. If you guys have noticed, I don't mentor anymore. I stopped mentoring for like 2 years because like I was just trading and I was making so much profit from just trading. So, I didn't need to sell any mentorships. I didn't need to sell any courses or anything like that. Of course, I'm still doing work, so it's not going to be completely free to everybody. But at this point, it's getting to a point where I don't even want the money, right? I don't even want people to pay for the live sessions. I would rather just make money from trading and just cut off the YouTube completely. So it's I mean that's kind of where we're going to end up to at some point, but it's just going to be a matter of time until we get there. But it's fine. For whoever's in the group, it's fine. You guys are not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. We'll keep trading the way we are. The only thing that changes is for the people who are on YouTube. We're basically freeloading, right? Which is fine. I try to make it accessible to everybody, but we're at a point where I don't want to share these two strategies at least with the public anymore. So let me scroll up real quick and check the questions. So let's see. Randy asked, hey, Sean, how do you make sure your execution is on point? Do you enter on the 59th second or count down until the candle opens? I find slippage often against my favor, especially when the market is very volatile. Yeah, I usually do that too. I do with Nick does. So I enter usually at the middle of like right when the candle is about to close. Not immediately, but right when the candle is about to close, I'll hit enter so that there's a split second in between, and I typically get in right where I need to. So I don't wait until the candle's closed because usually you don't have to wait. Like for example, for the breakout V3, you don't really have to wait for this here, right? You already know it's green. So it's like, what are you waiting for at that point? So literally when I know it's going to close green, I'll wait until the very last second and I'll just enter. I don't never enter like late, but I typically enter like maybe a split second right when it closes. For the PRB, it's a little tricky. I mean, today was a little more clear, but sometimes it's a little tricky because you're not going to see the rejection off it, or sometimes the candle might close as a doji or something like that. So the PRB is a little more tricky, but I just try to make sure, like if you guys listen to my analysis during the live session, I typically say, hey, if this candle closes green, I'm going to enter the trade. Or if this candle here closes with the big wick on the bottom, I'm going to enter the trade because I'm just timing it so that I can enter right away within that split second. But usually at the 59-second mark, I'm already ready to enter the trade and my finger is ready to click for the most part. So I'm just used to it this is typically how I enter all my trades anyways. I just wait for the candle to close, but it's a lot easier for us to identify when following it that way. Let's see, Randy said another question for you. Actually, has it worked in your favor? Oh, you're asking Nick. Okay. Randy said it took me 8 months to find out you guys do this. I've been entering 1 second after the candle closes. Yeah, it's kind of late, Randy. I mean, you can do that, but if you were to do that, I would just put a limit order at the entry price, right? Because it's going to pull back. So if it pulls back into drawdown, it'll fill you at like exactly the price that you wanted. So if you wanted, you can do that. There's no problem with that. Like for example, the breakout V3 over here, see how it pulled back into drawdown? If you just put your limit order right there, it would just fill it at the exact price. So you wouldn't get in late or early. You just put your limit order there, and when it comes down, it fills it, and then it goes straight to your TP. Because usually it doesn't go straight up. Sometimes it will just bounce around here for a few seconds, and then it'll shoot up. But yeah, I have for me personally, I just have my finger ready on there, and I just take it right away whenever I have the opportunity. All right, guys, if there's any other questions, feel free to put them in the chat. Otherwise, we'll wrap this up pretty soon. See, Natasha said, yeah, I can't see all of that on my phone. So she just waits for Sean to say if the candle closes green or red, he's entering. So if it looks like it's going to close the color Sean says, I enter probably a few seconds before or after. Yeah, no, exactly. Natasha's trading on her phone, so it's way more difficult. I don't know what was up with my trade wait today. It wasn't making noise. Usually, like yesterday, you guys heard it. It executed my trades, but for whatever reason today, it did not. Yeah, it didn't say trade executed or whatever that is. So, all right, guys. Yeah, if there's any other questions, feel free to put them in the chat. Otherwise, we'll wrap this up. Yeah, because for example, today, I didn't have the best entry. Like I got in like close, but not like exactly where I was supposed to. Because sometimes the candle just spikes at the last second too. That's another thing that kind of throws us off. All right, so Medusa, can we go over the past 5 PRBs? Yeah, sure. So let's go from today. Today's the 22nd. All right, so rejection, space, rejection. Entry is right there. So there goes the first one right there, Medu. That was a loss from today, of course. Let me know if you want me to like review any specific. I'll just zoom through them pretty quick because they're pretty easy for me to identify. I already told you guys a requirement, so it's not really that difficult at this point. So there goes one from today, loss. Let's go to the one from yesterday. All right, so from yesterday, market open over here at 6:30. We had a downwards trend. Rejection off the pivot right there. We had space. Rejection right there. So this one over here, I think, well, we got out of it on time, but it was like entry was like right there or something. Or sorry, it was a sell. Entry was like right there, slightly above. This is one from yesterday. If you guys remember this one, I almost missed this one, the PRB, because I didn't realize this closed. My entry was a little bit higher, and that's where I got out from. This one right here. So this is one from yesterday. If you need any questions regarding this Medu, let me know. If not, we will move over to the one before that. So that's from yesterday. And just let me know if I need to slow down, guys, because the strategy is so simple for me to just identify that I don't really have to think about it too much. So again, right here, this is from Tuesday. 6:30 was right here. So we had the rejection right there. Space, or rejection right here. Space happened right here, sideways movement. Or the space kind of happened like all throughout. So it was kind of like this could have been space or this could have been space. It wouldn't matter where your space is at because you're still looking for the rejection, right? So space could have happened up there because price did go sideways, or space could happen right here. It wouldn't matter because that rejection didn't happen until right here, this green candle. So rejection, space, rejection. And then you're also using momentum too. So here's another factor that I don't really mention too much. You're kind of looking at momentum. You're also looking at the trend. You're looking at a lot of different things. But the basic gist of the strategy is you're looking for rejection, space, rejection. And this is where the entry happened on Tuesday. It was a loss. Let's go to Monday. All right, Monday, which was President's Day right here. So same thing. Market open right here. Yeah, market was closed, but there was still an entry. So I'll show you guys the entry that came up. I sent it in the group on Monday. I took it for a partial, but I got out because the market just wasn't moving. So there's no trend here yet, so you couldn't really look for anything. Where there was a bullish trend, there was a rejection, but that was about it. Price pulled below, there was no trend yet, so you couldn't really look for anything. trend finally established right here. So there's a rejection. There's no space. There's rejections on pretty much every candle. And you can see there's no entry, right? So now price swings above, there's a rejection, but there's no second rejection. Now price drops below right here. Rejection right there. Rejection, rejection, rejection. We have space right here. Rejection happened right there. And there goes the next entry with the PRB, which was a win. It took a long time to hit, but it was a win. I think this thing took like all day to hit. Yeah. So that was pretty much it. Yeah, no. So this one happened after 7. I was just showing you guys the setup, but it did happen later because there was no volatility right here. So I was just showing you guys the setup, like, if it was to happen. But again, this is why there was no entry on that day because it was too slow. Volatility was just flat for the entire day. I mean, I guess technically your entry could have happened right here, but the volatility is low. This is why we don't trade on holidays. So there goes the Monday one that if you took it after 7, but you shouldn't take it after 7. The criteria is 7. But again, like I mentioned, we're still documenting it. So if the trade comes like slightly after 7, then maybe it's something that we can take. But for the most part, it's not one that we can necessarily take right now. Again, over here. So let's go to Friday. 6:30 was right here. Trend was bullish, but you can see there's a rejection right there, but there's no opportunity for entry. Now price becomes bearish right here. The rejection happened right there. There was space. And I think this was the entry right here. So this is the thing that I was talking about with Maddie and like the other guys. I don't know if this is going to be a criteria that we might have to look for when there's rejections on both sides. Because you can see how there's a rejection on both sides. It kind of caused a little bit of some uncertainty with regards to the direction of price. So the entry would happen right there, and I think it was a loss, right? We lost that trade on Friday, 16th. And it's just something that I've been noticing that like, yeah, and I took the loss right there. So that was the entry. Trend shifted right here, rejection, space, and rejection right there. So, I mean, I don't know, maybe in the future, this is something that we should probably incorporate. But again, like, it's something that's in test. That's why I can't really give you guys set requirements because there's still stuff that needs to be identified. Because if we would have skipped this right here and consider the space instead of the rejection, and say, for example, price comes back down and the entry would have happened right here, this one actually would have won. Yeah, Hawk said double rejection happened today as well, hence the loss. Yeah, so I mean, this is the only way we're able to identify if this here is the criteria that we'll be looking for. Like Madhu asked, where was the space identified here? So again, guys, I want to make it clear that you don't have to put too much emphasis on space. Like space can be down here, or it can be up here. Realistically, the space would have happened somewhere up here, right? But so like I was saying earlier, it wouldn't really matter because you just need space in between the rejections. So rejection, space, rejection, or rejection, space, rejection, right? The space doesn't really matter. It's the space would have been this candle right here, the green one. This one was kind of tricky because I feel like this should have been the space, but when I was analyzing with Maddie, he said this was a space, the one before it. And I guess it kind of just depends on how the market was moving at the time. So let's just do this candle by candle. Because I remember I was talking to Maddie on the live. And I was asking him like, hey, do you think this is space? And he said, yeah, that's space. So rejection is right here, and we consider this space right here. I know it doesn't look like space because it's such a big candle, but the reason it was space is because if you look at the wicks, they're the same size. So I mean, realistically, price is technically going sideways right here. The only problem is that the volatility was so high. See, the volatility was at 21 at the time. So this here would be the space candle for the entry that we took. But like I mentioned, if we're going to skip entries where there's rejection on both sides on the top and the bottom, then this would technically be the space. But because we took this as the entry, this here was considered, I guess, this was considered space and this was considered the entry, and that's where we took the loss. And price ended up coming right back down right after. So we have to like weigh the pros and cons. We have to look at the losses. If this is something that's common, then we'll factor it. But if it isn't, then it's better to just eat the loss and then continuing with what we're doing. Because if this only happens like maybe twice or like once a month, then this is a loss that we would just have to eat. Because if this is the case, and if the case is that this here isn't the reasoning behind the loss, then we're kind of throwing away trades that could be winners as well. So we can't really make the deciding factor, just yet. Once we have enough data, I will go in and pull it back, but we don't have enough data yet. So let's go back a couple more. So Medusa said he thinks the other loss was on Wednesday the 14th. Let's go over here real quick to the 15th. I think the 15th was a win. All right, so 6:30 was right here. The trend shifted right here. I don't think there was an entry on this day, right? Or maybe there was. Yeah, there was actually. So there's an entry right here, rejection. Space is right here. Space is right there. And then the other rejection is right there. And that's where the entry happened for a buy. That was Thursday and Wednesday the 18th that what you mentioned. But all this stuff is already screenshot in the spreadsheet, so you don't necessarily have to go back and test it, although it is recommended because you can see how it actually moved that day. So here's that loss from Wednesday, I believe. February's just been like a tricky, I feel like it's been a tricky month for us in general. Okay, so 6:30 was right here. 6:30 was right here. We had the bearish trend, rejection, space. No, I think Wednesday was a win, yeah. So, or no, okay, so this is where the second rejection happened, and this here was a loss. Yeah, so that right there was a loss too. So as you guys can see, it's not a hard strategy. It's actually really simple now that you guys understand like where the rejections are. I think the biggest problem would just be people identifying space. That's the biggest discretionary thing. But I mean, realistically, the space doesn't really matter too much. You're just looking for consolidation, rejection, consolidation, rejection. But you're also looking at momentum. You're also looking at the trend. You're looking at the pivots. There's other factors that come in. It's not as simple as it might seem because we're looking at it so quickly. It's that's where the work comes in. The work comes in with identifying the space. But once you've seen it a couple of times, you already know what to look for, right? And if you guys want to practice it, so if you want to get really good at the PRB, just go back and just do what I just did here. Go back to every single day, drop the PRB, and then if you need to see if the PRB is correct, pull up the spreadsheet and just see, okay, is this a PRB that Sean took, right? Click this here. If it's not the same one, then go ahead and redo your analysis. And that will show you exactly if you identify it right or wrong. So Maria's asking just a question, no matter the color of the second rejection candle. Yeah, color doesn't matter, Maria. Just looking for the rejection. All right. So guys, if I missed any questions, feel free to pop back into the chat. But I think I answered everything for the most part. Sorry if you guys can hear the noise. My laptop is updating. And these Windows laptops, they like update so aggressively. It sounds like my computer's like gonna fly away right now. Super loud. But yeah, no problem, I do. Glad I can help with that. Now that you guys understand how the entries work, you guys can go and back test it if you like, right? Just go back to every single day, pull up the spreadsheet, click on my screenshot there, and then you can see, whether you pick the proper entry or not. And that's how you guys will get better. So Maria, if you want to get better, you can do that too. Because I know you're having problems with it, but if you want to go back and test it, just go back and test every single day. Pull up my markup, see if your entry lined up with mine, and then that'll help you get better. But you guys have the requirements now for the most part, so it shouldn't be too big of a problem for you to get better at it. And it's just going to come with practice, time and practice, of course. So, all right, guys, I think that's it for today. If you guys have any other questions, feel free to reach out. Tomorrow's the last day of trading for this week. Let me check the calendar real quick if there's anything for tomorrow. We have some high impact news at 5:30, medium impact, low impact. So tomorrow should be fine, hopefully. Hopefully it'll be fine, and then we can take some trades, and we'll be actually there's no news tomorrow. So hopefully tomorrow went smooth. We win both trades, and we'll be back in deeper profit tomorrow as we close out the trading week. So, all right, guys, have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you guys back here tomorrow for